Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. It's Miss Trees. I'm happy to be talking with you again. I had scheduled a classroom meeting this morning at 10 o'clock, and nobody joined the meeting. I sent out a schedule on the stream last week about us meeting at 10 o'clock this morning, and also on Class Dojo. There were a few of you that said that you were going to join this morning, but nobody was able to join us, or maybe you forgot. Also, it was at 10 in the morning. Maybe you were sleeping a little late, which is okay. So I've rescheduled the morning for us the morning meeting for us. Now it's rescheduled to 3 o'clock this afternoon. So all you're going to have to do is go to Google Classroom, and you're going to, that stream page that has the announcements on it, you're going to scroll down to where it's talking about the meeting, and there's a camera that has the link on it, and all you're going to have to do is click on that camera, and then it'll take you to the meeting. So you don't have to do anything else except click on that camera, and then a thing will come up that says join the meeting, and you just click on that. Okay, so I really want y'all to join the meeting so we can have fun and talk. You're not going to have to do any work. We just want to talk and have some fun, and then I get to see y'all. I haven't seen you in, like, 2 months? Oh, I miss y'all. So make sure that you click on that so I can see y'all. And it's nice and easy. All you have to do is click on the camera. Okay, so let's get started with our reading lesson. You're going to turn to page 385. 385 in your 2.1 book. We're still in the same book. And we're going to talk about our vocabulary, but first we're going to go over our informational text anchor chart. We're talking about informational text. Now, what's information? Information is like facts. It's like stuff that Miss Trees is telling you in class. Stuff that you learn. You learn information. You learn stuff that's going on. Okay? Now, in informational text on page 385, you're looking at this right here. You're looking at this little chart right here. Okay? So I'm going to read over it with you and explain the pictures. All right? So in informational text, it starts off and it says features and graphs. Okay, features and graphs. And first they start with a picture of 2 butterflies. It's just a little picture there with 2 butterflies flying in the air. And it says a photo, which is a picture. Photo means picture. Or illustration, and we've learned illustration is what somebody's drawn a picture. That's illustration. Doesn't usually have labels. Now, labels is like words that tell you what something means. So if you see a photo is like a picture. It's just like a picture that we take in class of each other. It's like the photos that I put of you guys outside in the hallway so we knew whose work it was up in the hall. I didn't write your names. I just took a picture of you, and then you knew that was your work in the hallway. Okay? Then the next one is maps. There's a map of the United States right there. It's a very basic map. And then it says maps show places mentioned in the text. And then it has those little things that look like this, little upside down V's, and those are mountains. They're just showing you a very basic picture of a mountain. And it has MU for mountain. MU for mountain. Okay, then the last one is called a diagram. Okay, that's a funny looking word, diagram. And diagrams are labeled, like I was telling you. Pictures aren't labeled, but diagrams are labeled. And you can see at the butterfly, they've put a word there with an arrow to tell you there's a head, That's where the head is. And then underneath they put body, and they put a little arrow there where they're showing you where the body is. And then they put wings, and they put a little arrow there to show you where the wings are. Okay, those are all labels, right? So those are diagrams showing you the labels of what those things are. Now you wouldn't put that on a picture because you don't want words on your picture. Like if there was a picture, let's say a picture of Maximus. The picture of Maximus was a funny picture because he was like that, right? So we wouldn't want to put labels on it saying this is his head, these are his eyes, this is his nose, and this is his mouth. We wouldn't want to do that on a picture, but on a diagraph, we do want to do that because we want to know what certain things are. Okay? All right, let's turn the page. Now, there's your vocabulary like it has been for every story. But in your academic calendar, which looks like this, that you get every week, I'm going to read off what it says for Monday. It says introduce vocabulary, and our words are migration, insects, climate, generation, and mammal. Now, all those words, those are some pretty big words. And it says you may use the glossary to help you define these words. Use your journal to define and draw a picture. Okay? Now, what I did was I looked at the glossary. Okay? If you flip to page 401. Turn to page 401. All right? It says on the instructions, let me get a little drink of water. Now, it says on the instructions that you can use the glossary to write the definition of the vocabulary words. On page 401, there are your vocabulary words, okay? Or there's the glossary for some words. You see migration, find migration on your glossary. If you'll look right here, it's the last word, okay? It's the last word. Now, if you'll look at that, that's a pretty long definition for migration, right? Let's read it together. The movement of animals from one habitat to another. Now, movement, you know what movement is. I'm moving my head back and forth right now. Of animals from one habitat to another. Now, you may not know what a habitat is. Okay, now we've talked a little bit about habitats this year, but you may not really remember what a habitat is. But a habitat is where an animal lives. A habitat is like its house. All right? Now, instead of having you write that whole definition again, because if you turn the page, that's where you can see that's where you're supposed to write your definitions. Or in your journal. You can do it in your journal too. Some of y'all have been writing them on pieces of paper in your journal or on this page that they give you. And that's fine. But I started thinking, what is the point of you taking this big long definition and then writing it again because we want you to draw a picture? And I know some of y'all don't really like to draw pictures because you think you can't draw. But you still, when you draw a picture, that gives me a good view of that you understand what that definition means. So I'm going to change up the academic calendar for Monday a little bit, and I'm just going to have you draw a picture in those boxes instead of rewriting the vocabulary word. Now, you can use the glossary, of course, to look at what the word means, but then I want you to just draw a picture on the next page where the word is in that box, and then you will be telling me in a picture what that word means to you. So let's look at migration as an example. Here's migration at the bottom, and here's the box that you have to draw your picture. Now, for example, since migration basically was the moving of an animal from one place to another place, okay? The movement of one habitat, one home, to another habitat, another home. So for an example, and you can do whatever you want, you can do this example or you can do your own example. You could say like a bird. Birds migrate. Butterflies migrate. Lots of different animals migrate in the winter time and in the summertime. When it gets cold, they go somewhere where it's warm. When it gets too hot, they might go somewhere where it's a little cooler. So let's talk birds. If you drew a bird right here, and then you drew it, and you drew like maybe a tree where it's pretty in the sun, and that tells me that it's sunny. And then you draw a line with the bird flying, and then maybe you drew a tree with no leaves. If a tree has no leaves, what season is that? When all the leaves fall off, that's what season? Winter. Or you could say going from winter to summer. Okay? So you could draw showing migration, the moving of the animal from one habitat to another. It's going to sit on one tree that has no leaves to a tree that has leaves. And that means it's migrating, right? It's going from one habitat to another. Okay? Or you could do fish. Fish go from cold water to warm water sometimes. It just depends on you. Use your imagination of what animals you think. Okay? So does that seem a little easier to do? I hope so. Let's look at one more that I think is kind of a hard word. Generation. Generation, that's kind of a long, hard word for you guys. So let's look in the glossary. We're on page 401 now. In the glossary, 401. Find generation. It's the second word. It starts with a G. Generation. It's in black. A group of the same animal that is born at the same time. Now, a group of an animal. When you talk about a group of an animal, you're talking about the same kind of animal. Okay? Not a boy or a girl. Boy and girl. Okay? So a group of an animal would be bears. Bears are a group of an animal. Okay? And when you talk about generations, you're talking about, say, a mom and a dad bear. A mom and a dad bear would be one generation, and their cubs, their babies, would be the next generation. So you have the mom and the dad right here, that's one generation. And then here are the babies, the cubs, that would be the next generation. Then when the babies grow up and they have babies, then these, the mom and the dad bear, they become what? Grandparents. So now you have the grandparents bears, you have the parents bears, and then you have the baby bears. So how many generations is that? Babies, 1, parents, 2, and grandparents, 3. It's kind of like you as people, because animals in the wildlife they have generations just like people do. You have you, which is one generation, your parents, which is another generation, number 2, and then your grandparents, which is generation number 3. Okay? So does that make sense? That's what generation means. So when they tell you a group of the same animal, so bears are the same, butterflies are the same, let's see, horses are the same, dogs are the same. You wouldn't say a generation would be a cat and a dog. Those are 2 different groups of animals, okay? All right, so that's what a generation is. It's a group of animals that are all about on the same level, okay? Parents are bears are a group of animals, all about the same age as a generation, okay? All right, so that's what generation means. So the rest, you're going to do the rest of them. So what you would do for a picture for generations, you might draw, if you're going to do bears, I'm just using bears as an example. Remember, you can draw whatever you want to draw. So under generation in that square, you could draw baby bears. Then you can draw a little bit bigger bears for the parent bears. And then you could draw a little bit bigger bears for the grandparent bears. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope I haven't confused you. Now, then you have insects, climate, and mammals. I think you can do that because you talked a lot about climate and science. So hopefully you'll be fine with those. I want you to figure out those on your own. Okay? Then tomorrow, we're going to review the anchor chart again because it says to review the anchor chart, but I wanted to go over it first before we started the vocabulary. And then you're going to start reading. So we'll start reading tomorrow. Okay? Now, remind you to be at the 3 o'clock Google Meets. Go to the Google Classroom. Go to Miss Tree's Google Classroom. Click on the little camera. And then click on Join the Meeting. And then you'll pop up and you'll see me and Miss Monroe. Miss Monroe is going to join us for the meeting too. Okay? All right. So that's reading for today. I love you. I hope you're safe and you're healthy. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.